All right, Chris, thanks so much. You know, you were talking about the economic disadvantages that Barack Obama, Michelle Obama faced, what they have done, what they're going to be talking about tonight. Michelle Obama is clearly one of the headlines tonight, but John McCain has made a bit of news tonight on NBC. Of course, he has appeared on Jay Leno tonight, and we do have a little bit of what he said. And I want to ask you guys about this because the topic again came up about the number of homes that John McCain owned. And he responded to Jay Leno by saying that he had been in prison 5.5 years during the Vietnam War, and, quote, I didn't have a house, I didn't have a kitchen table, I didn't have a table then. Rachel, what do you make of that response?
He had been, up until that point in the interview with Leno, he had been joking along and joking along, joking along. Leno said, for $1 million, so I was going to give you $1 million right now. Can you tell me how many houses you own? And that was his response. I was a POW. He got very serious. John McCain has now sort of played the POW card in response to criticism of his health care plan by Elizabeth Edwards. His campaign responded by saying, you can't criticize him for that, he was a POW. He's responded to accusations that he cheated at Saddleback by saying, you can't criticize him for that, he was a POW. Now you can't criticize him for not knowing how many houses he's owned because he was a POW. At what point does using this as a crutch take away the emotional and political power of this part of his biography?
That was clearly a prepared question, clearly a prepared answer McCain gave. My guess is it was almost scripted. My guess is Leno said the last question coming is this. McCain had that ready and it let it go. We will find out if it works or not. Let me tell you something. When I grew up, if a guy was a fighter pilot and he came home and married a beer heiress with 7 condominiums and mansions, we would say that's an American success story.
Well,
that's what.
Sure. Nobody's saying he's not successful.
That's why are you knocking the guy because his wife's got 7 houses and condominiums?
When you grew up, you would have said that a guy who doesn't remember how many houses he has is a toff, is some fancy pants, who wasn't like you, who wasn't like the Buchanan family. The Buchanan family knew how many houses it had. It had a house. But
easy to count.
The question about the POW defense is how many times you go to the well. How much water is in that well?
But here's
Clearly
the thing.
There's some.
It goes to the well because it works. And my guess is it's going to work with an awful lot of people.
But he risks turning this incredibly politically salient, patriotically emotional point of his biography. He risks turning it into a punchline.
Why don't you call him and tell him he's making a mistake, Rachel?
I'll say it on TV and see how that goes.
Well, Rachel, let me challenge you on that point, because Maureen Dowd wrote about this in the New York Times, and she said it was something she brought up with her own conservative mother, that she said to her conservative mother, but he cheated on his first wife. And her mother said, you know what? He spent 5.5 years in a Vietnam prison. That he gets some leeway because of that. This is Maureen Dowd's own mother that she wrote about in that. Does he get some leeway?
Well, I mean, you can say he gets leeway on cheating on his first wife. You can say he gets leeway on not knowing how many houses he has. You can say he gets leeway on having, promoted the idea that Saddam was behind the anthrax attacks. But at some point, him being a POW is not a relevant rejoinder to a political attack on him.
What he should have
not
said.
relevant.
What he should have said was, I don't own any houses, and darned if I know how many my wife owns, but it's an awful lot of them. What has this got to do with whether he ought to be president of the United States
He's
or
out
not?
there attacking Barack Obama as an elitist and a celebrity and a rich guy. And John McCain is in no position to be making that accusation against anyone.
The reason Michelle Obama is speaking tonight and saying what she's saying about being a poor gal is it is working for the Republicans, and it is not working against John McCain.
I heard that from Republicans, that the elitist ad, the Paris Hilton ad, worked. It had tackiness.
Sure it did.
Because it got to people's doubts about Barack Obama. Are they making some traction with that? And how does Barack Obama push back?
Well, I think the houses issue actually has been the most effective pushback from the Obama campaign, because that has had John McCain backpedaling. It has had him backpedaling. It has had him go to this reservoir of goodwill that he has because of having been a POW. You don't want to go to that well.
But, Gene, you know why they're all talking middle class, working class, South Side Chicago? They're not talking Princeton. They're not talking Reverend Wright. It's because the McCain Republican stuff, it is working.
Well, this is going to be so interesting tonight, because Michelle Obama, this task that she has coming up, she is going to be talking about family. She is going to be talking about values. That is throughout the prepared remarks they have had.
It's prepared, scripted.
Well, it's a speech. Of course it's scripted.
Why did they script it? Why did they script it
Because
this way?
she's trying to explain it. We're going to have more from the panel coming up. Chris and Keith, we got a lot of heat down here among the panel. I know you guys will come back to us in a little bit after the speech to talk about exactly what Michelle Obama said. Back to you guys.
Boy, well, thank you, Nora. Chris, hide your script quickly. They're going to come for our script now. Just one statistic to add, to throw this into the hopper about whether or not it's working. The Gallup likely voter poll swung since July 7 points from McCain ahead by a couple to Obama ahead by a couple while all of this was supposedly working. Something does not jibe there.